Yo,
What up? What up?
what's going on, man? Woo.
Episode 171, people.
Let's go.
We back in the house. Welcome back to the car.
I should have refilled myself before.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same
I got
thing. No, maybe you shouldn't have. Welcome back to the Carbon Footprint, everybody. Right. He is Juan and I'm Sean, and every week we get together, have a few drinks, talk about things going on in the world, try to focus on things making an impact, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. Hit him with the redness of the day.
Listen, this is, and I consumed a little too much before we started it, but so you can't see how pretty it is. You neither. All right.
No, mine is better.
So maybe do that. But we got a nice little on theme drink today, man. We have a mistletoe margarita. We apologize. We'll have to definitely put this picture up because you can't tell anymore in the video. But it does look like mistletoe sitting over a glass.
Yep.
It's awesome. Super good drink, man. So I batched it so that I could make like 3 to 4 drinks at a time. But I guess I'm going to break the recipe down in a way that you could just do the one. So in a shaker, throw in about 2 to 3 mint leaves, maybe 3 to 4 cranberries with half an ounce of simple syrup, muddle that, then throw in some ice, throw in 2 ounces of tequila, throw in half an ounce of Control, throw in half an ounce of lime juice or 3/4 of an ounce, just a little bit more depending on how much you like. Shake that up, pour it in a glass filled with ice, and then garnish it. Actually, you were supposed to muddle mint cranberry. Did I say it's a
you
mint?
Said mint,
okay.
Cranberry, and simple syrup.
So then fill it up in a glass and then garnish with a clapped mint and then cranberries. And then there you go. And we also salted the rim, but that's optional. But so to give it that real margarita effect. But this is actually really good, man.
Yeah, this is real good, bro. You gotta add us to rotation. I was worried about you in the beginning because you were taking long,
bro. The numbers on the ounces of the recipe were gone, and then it would piss me off even more is when I saw it and it was like, because it was the recipe was meant to batch make it. It was meant for like 3 to 4. I'm looking at it and I'm going, if I'd just cut in a third, it's like a normal drink that we always make. Because the ratios usually of liquor and the chasers doesn't change across most drinks. Like it's the same, but it's like once you have the formula down of the type of mix that it is, you kind of know. And so when I read it, I'm like, a fucking course. Like it was one of those infuriating things. So then like, I can make it pretty quickly. But
so what tequila did we use today?
No, dude, we use this. I love this tequila. So Maestro Dobel, and this is the Diamante version of it. I buy this tequila all the time, like as a like sort of normal bar tequila. I love this one. But Maestro Dobel does a silver. They do an añejo. They do a reposado, and they're all awesome. And the bottle, I think this bottle was like $50, maybe give or take, and it's a good quality. Like you could sip it by itself. That one was good,
bro. Yeah, and I did. I had a sip by itself, and it was one of those where it feels like when you put it in your mouth, it's gonna go down hard, and it doesn't. It's really smooth.
It's fantastic, dude. So yeah, man, I love that tequila. So I also, because it's I don't like to cheat, and I won't call anybody out by names in case they're trying to write us a check one day, but I don't know. We don't like to cheap out in general, but then even when you're mixing, like I know a lot of people like to cheap out a little bit of mixing. There's certain ones that I think what you like to look for is what doesn't break the bank and you can mix, which is like why we love Terramana and we love some of the tequilas we try here all the time. Like
we've had a few.
Yeah. So we've been lucky, but this is another one, man, where it's like, okay, you can go slightly above, but it isn't exactly like Don Julio 1942 or a Casa Dragones, but it's like just better than maybe the 1800 or something like that, or a Patron.
Oh, it's better than those.
Yeah, it's great, man. So yeah, try that. Maestro Dobel is great tequila. So
all right, man. Let me hit you with my carbon footprint.
All right, man. See it.
It's actually going out. This is going out to, I guess a judge. Which will go nameless.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
It is, right?
You doing a judge, man.
Because I feel like this is gonna have this could have.
You got a case coming up. I don't know about. You trying to build good.
Listen, holla at me, judges. You never know.
You trying to get on someone's good graces right now. But sir, listen to my podcast. Go light on the sentence.
That's right. All right, so this one, this is a case where Takeoff, which is a member of the Migos, hip hop group. For those of you who don't know, Takeoff was killed. I don't know. I remember when he passed.
Halloween.
Was it last year?
Yeah.
So, gunned down, right? Mm-hmm. He got shot.
Killed at a bowling alley and caught in a crossfire thing. It wasn't like somebody trying to murder him, I guess, specifically, but it was like an altercation. And he.
Why don't I remember that? I mean, I remember it occurring. I don't remember the details.
I think to this day the details are fuzzy, and so then all we know is that it was like sudden. It was an altercation that broke out. Shots were fired, and he just happened to get hit.
Yep.
And to this day, there are rumors that it was friendly fire. There's I think it's one of those that's like still up in the air kind of thing. I think that's why. I think we never really got closure as to like what actually happened. I think. Yeah.
So anyway, so there is a woman that actually is suing Takeoff for rape that occurred back in 2020.
So she's currently sued, not a lawsuit that was ongoing from before. She sued him?
No, so she sued him back in, I think it began in August of 2020. So the incident occurred in like June of that year.
Okay.
And then the lawsuit was filed in August.
Okay.
And so, anyway, so obviously Takeoff's dead.
Yeah.
And so this woman is wanting his mother to stand trial because his mother is currently in charge of his estate.
Oh, wow. So, well, it's not a criminal. It's a civil proceeding she's suing. So he's not being criminally charged with rape. She is suing him in civil court for rape or for sexual assault or...
Great question. That I'm not sure of.
Or for... Yeah, I don't know. Can you sue someone for that? I guess it would have to be under something else, right? Like you couldn't... I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it said that she's suing him for rape. Is what I read.
Yeah, I guess you could. Fuck, and his mom has to.
Well, so there's an upcoming court hearing on February 22nd of 24, where a judge will make the decision on that motion.
Fuck, man.
So I'm going. So then the reason why I gave it a carbon footprint is I go. Depending on what the judge decides, like if he decides to let this go forward and he goes, yeah, you're in charge of the estate, essentially she's after money, right? Because clearly she's not after justice. At this point, you're after money. Because justice,
correct.
To me, justice would be, I want that guy in jail for what he did, right? I want him to pay for what he did.
Correct.
So at this point, you're not after justice.
No, it's a cash grab.
You're after money.
And that's not, and I guess
I don't even care, bro.
Yeah, I guess, right. I can't tell you as a victim what is going to make you feel whole or what gets you closer.
Yeah,
maybe this doesn't, but it's care. Like it's better than nothing. Yeah. Like I can't tell you what it is that's going to make you feel better, especially in something that, if it's true,
right,
that's that heinous, sort of that personal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now some of the details, to me, when I'm reading them, are sketchy. But again, I'm reading them through several news outlets, so I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not. So I don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I'm going. If the judge decides that his mother has to stand trial, does that then open the door for someone being responsible for your actions after you die? And in this case, it's his mom.
And then should it always be your mom?
No, but what if your mom is passed? What if it's your kids?
Yeah.
Now what? Are your kids responsible for what you did in the past?
I think, man, it's funny. My initial reaction is no. No one is. Because where do you draw the line? And then, listen, if this stuff really happened to her, like, sorry, that sucks. Like,
yeah.
But
he's dead.
And then I don't know. I think the problem I have with this stuff is that, like, you could go, yes, he's a celebrity. Yes, there is money in his estate. Yes, if that's what's going to make you feel whole, then cool, you can get it. But not everyone in these circumstances is going to be Takeoff. What happens if it's just a Joe Schmo? Like, right. You know, what happens if it's a you and I and our kids have to take on, like, you know, what, I don't know, whatever, like, make a case could be, like, or just like regular people. Like, you have to think about, do you just start then judging these things based on the circumstance of who the people are? which then makes it really
that's what I think
unfair
this
to live in a society like that, right? Like, because now you're sort of like, you're treating, and we know we do this sort of unofficially anyway, but you're treating citizens differently based on their status. You know, like their
financial status,
their popularity,
and I'm
whatever.
going, you know what? If you were a rape victim and your assailant was gunned down, is that not do you not look at that as revenge?
Yeah, that would be justice, I think, for most people.
Or justice, better.
Yeah.
Sorry, but rather than revenge,
Vengeance.
Yeah, no, it's just like you look at that and you go like, good, fuck that person, right?
Right, if it's true, or, and again, I'm not the one to tell you like that the cash isn't going to make you feel whole. But
she filed the lawsuit. So in respect to her, she filed the lawsuit prior to his death.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. So it happened.
Okay, I think that changes the conversation a lot.
The incident happened in June, and she filed in August.
I think that changes it a lot because also he was there to defend himself at the time she filed the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So like, which also makes it a little bit better in terms of when people are gone and you sue them. It's always weird because if you don't have just overwhelming evidence or like something that's like really, really just obvious, that person is no longer there to sort of defend themselves. In this case,
the person is still no longer there to defend himself.
No, but at the time that she did it, she was expecting him to.
Yes.
And so I think it changes the argument a little bit of maybe it wasn't necessarily obviously it was a cash grab because it's civil court. It's not criminal.
But the other thing is, dude, like, who's to say that she wasn't cash grabbing in the beginning?
No, you are, because if you're doing it in civil court anyway, it's for cash.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And someone,
you're not pressing charges to him criminally. You just want cash.
And some of the details that I read, it was kind of like those things where, like he was kind of pushing up on me, and then I'm kind of deflecting, and then we end up in a bedroom together, and then he forces himself on me, and it's just like, all right, so then if he's pushing himself on you before. Like, how do you end up in the bedroom, but you don't want to be there? You know what I'm saying? Like, again, and I don't want to. It's again, I wasn't there.
Like I never know, right? Like, you just don't know. How
it's just like
to what.
I feel like it was a cash grab from the beginning.
No, it was when it's civil court. It's cash.
Now the guy dies, right? I don't know that you should be able to still cash grab after the guy's death or the person's death.
I think what happens there is you end up you pull a Tupac where everybody knows you're still alive, but then you're just faking deaths to get out of losses. All these rappers just gonna have doppelgangers. And I'm Machiavelli now. It's a weird conversation, man. Like in general, like to your point of. Like, when does your family assume your responsibility? Because, bro, like I'm thinking about this from a spouse side. What if your wife is alive or your husband and the other person doesn't?
Could you
There's
imagine,
nothing stopping
bro?
people from suing them for some shit you did.
Right. It's
weird because I guess technically you could, because again, the estate is a representative of that person, right? Like,
so then how do you get around that? So how do you have to go and then put your money into something else that has limited liability?
Which is what people do, right? Like you use trust, you use, like we do trust for everything because it allows you to, protect that from the individual, but then also pass things down to non-individuals or people who are sort of members of the trust. It's like a business, right? Like, so. Yeah. I guess you do. At what point do you just have everyone having some sort of trust that all their assets, which I think most of us want to do or try to do, or to an extent, but like, or at least we will be, just to get around things like this. Dude, there's advice that I've gotten from people in my everyday life about even how they keep car insurance or how they keep like home insurance and stuff like that, and how they keep it separate from their spouse. Like say like their car, they might be like, hey, my loan is different and my car is under my name, and then their car is under their name, and we don't let them sort of commingle and all that. And a lot of it is plays for if someone gets into an accident and they sue them, they can't go after the other person. Like, and there's a specific way to separate it. But anyway, like I've gotten advice like that from people that I trust that I know would know this, because they're thinking of stuff like that. Because they're thinking of like, if someone sues my kid, because my kid crashes and he's a teen and he might get into an accident. And like, how do I keep my stuff out of that? Like, yeah, and I know, and they've given me advice on how they've set up certain things. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like, I would have never thought about that. But now that I have a daughter who's sort of approaching that age, I'm like, oh, I probably should consider this.
You have not shared this with me.
So I got you. I got you. You're right. I got you. But it's like, man, it does. And even like personally, man, like, you know, we talk about, and we've had this conversation on here in the past where it's like, you know, like trust fund baby is considered like such a bad sort of terminology, or we clown it. And like as parents, like, don't you want to have,
you want that?
Yeah. Like, don't you want have trust? And I think the people who truly understand that and know what it means, like, yeah, we obviously have this bad connotation for it because we use it as an insult for a certain type of individual. But the actual like literal thing of it, you're like, no, I would. It's
a really smart move.
That. Yeah.
Yep.
From a tax perspective, from a protecting my kids and my assets and all that. Yeah. Like, of course you would do that. Like, it makes the most sense. So, yeah, man, I think what these things do, man, is it just further separates haves and have-nots, right? Because the poor person is thinking about, how do I get a quick cash grab and sue someone? And this is not to belittle what happened to her if it happened to her. Like,
right.
But I think what happens in these circumstances, like what you were just saying, then people just find loopholes to protect themselves and create walls and put boxes around stuff. And like, it just, and then what that does, it just creates animosity between the people who have the time and the resources to do something like that versus the ones that don't.
Yep.
Like it just, and we just keep creating this further divide between people who are sort of, I don't want to say smart enough, but that's probably the word.
Because man, like, have-nots.
Like people think like, oh, having a trust is for rich people. It's not. Or having, you know, creating these separations.
We just don't know.
No, dude, it takes
a lot of us
$200 to create an LLC and protect yourself in certain tax grabs. Like, but most people will spend that on a pair of sneakers. It's like, you just don't have the information. You just don't know. And so you just keep creating this like divide between people like that and this animosity. And so I think, sadly enough, like I think that's exactly what something like this is going to do, is it's just going to make people create another layer to separate themselves between people like that.
Yep.
And I say people like that, meaning if it's someone who's just going for a cash grab, who something didn't happen. Like, listen, if something happened to her, I guess the other argument would be, I still don't think his family is responsible for that.
No, man, I don't think. I think that, dude, if you pass, it's
sucks
finished,
for her to not get what she deems to be justice for her, right? Like justice for her might be the cash,
bro. But in thinking about it, it's like if something that horrific happened to you, if you were raped, what better thing to happen than your rapist dying? Or it's not even dying, bro. In this case, like he was gunned down.
Yeah.
It is murder. So like what's better than that?
I think for me is like, I don't know what that is for you. For all of us, it's different, right? Like, because for me, for example, the cash grab might be enough in a lot of circumstances. But for example, if it has something to do with my kids, the murder is probably like where I draw, like where like my
preference.
Like, I don't even say preference. Like that's gonna be where I get to where it's good enough.
Right.
Like there isn't an amount of money you could give me. You know, like
that's
so.
What I'm saying,
so I think
dude,
that just changes by the individual, because I go, you know, like if that's my daughter, for example, I go, no, I don't want him alive, and he's probably not gonna be for much longer.
But do you think that your daughter could go, it wasn't, you know, I'd rather have the money. Like if I had a daughter,
I'd be like, cool, you can go after that. But
if I had a daughter that goes like, I'd rather have the money, I'm almost going, okay, so was it that bad? I think I'm questioning you. I think I'm questioning I'm questioning not only whether it happened, but the severity of it and how that affected you.
I think that I guess like my pushback would be that I can't tell you what makes you feel whole. Like, so if someone tried to murder me.
But does money make you feel whole, bro?
I don't think that it makes you feel whole, but you go, I can't reverse that anyway. I might as well be a little richer for it. I think it depends on the amount of money, right? Like you go, hey, I can't take back, you know, the if it's a sexual assault, I can't take that back. Like horrific, horrible. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to get that back. Like I'm going to have to go to therapy and do whatever, you know, like to try to work through that.
Yeah.
Never going to get that feeling that I had pre that back. what softens the blow, or maybe what buys me the resources, if I had $1 million in the bank. Now, if it's $5,000 in the bank, I guess you could argue like, But if somebody goes, yo, man, if I had $1 million or $2 million and I could buy my way to therapy and maybe I could do that stuff, and I can't take any of this back anyway, so I might as well buy myself the ability to do other things. Like, I can't argue with that. Like, I guess for me, I go like the rape, nothing undoes that. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, just like nothing undoes someone trying to kill you. Nothing undoes someone killing someone you love. Like, so nothing undoes that. And you go, if they die, okay, cool. I feel like that. But then you go, would you rather have someone dead or would you rather have $10 million in the bank? And I guess it depends on your level of petty, right? Like, it really, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I hear you, man.
If you knew they were doing life in prison and you got $100 million, let's say, I feel like you'd be okay with the life in prison for most people.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like,
but what if you didn't get the $100 million?
No, but what if you got 10? Like, what's the number? We all have a number.
But I'm saying, but what if you didn't get the money
and you just got life in prison?
No, and they just got dead.
I think for some people that's okay. But I think for some people they would go,
I still want the $100 million.
No. Yeah, I do. Listen, and it is absolutely a cash grab. But I guess I don't blame society, you. Right? Yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is it's a cash grab 100%. Mm-hmm. I guess I can't argue on whether or not the cash grab is good enough for you. Yeah. I think it's where I stand. It's like, okay, if the cash grab makes you feel better, cool. If the cash grab is now easy because you're suing an estate and it just happens to be their mom, I think the argument here is like, it sucks that it's the mom.
Yeah, and it sucks that it's a family member. Yeah.
Like, I don't think she should have to deal with that.
Yeah, like, how do you, as a mom, or if this was any next of kin, right, of yours that's owning your estate, how do you defend that?
And the problem is you kind of have to, right? Because then you have to stop people from coming out of the woodwork and suing dead people for money who can't defend themselves. Because you settle, now you set this precedent of
the Rockefellers be broke.
Yeah, bro. I'd be suing them right now. They'd be like, bro, you weren't even alive. Nah, he touched me. It's just, yeah, man. Because you're like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, either way, you set this precedent, which is why,
that's why I'm giving a cover.
It's a cover. Yeah.
Again, I don't know who the judge is. I don't know. I don't even know what state this is in. But I think whatever this judge decides is going to set a precedence.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
And it could be a dangerous precedence.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I was just having this conversation with my kids about we were at Disney World and they were talking about, remember the kid a couple years ago who got eaten by the alligator? Oh yeah. And then my daughter was asking me, I don't know, somehow we got into a conversation and she was saying sort of what happened, and I'm like, like the poor kid like got eaten. Yep. And it was horrible, whatever. The alligator killed him, but then she was asking what happened with Disney World. I'm like, well, they actually got sued. They settled with the family. They've put up signs and they've roped this off and, whatever, like it's safe. And she's like, well, are there still gators here? Because we were actually on the ferry. Like,
that was in the Grand Floridian, right?
Yeah. And so we were passing the Grand Floridian. So it was like we were on our way to Magic Kingdom. And so I'm like, actually, it was right there. Like, we're, like where the Grand Floridian beach thing is. And so,
which is not really a beach.
No, but it's like the beach they create or whatever. It's like a man-made beach. Yep. And so that's how the conversation sort of started. And then, so anyway, so I told her like, hey, like, yeah, that's where it happened, but they've removed gators from this lake since. And I know when they spot them now, they remove them and they relocate them and whatever. But, and so when I told her about the lawsuit anyway, it was interesting because she's like, well, why? And, because she sees the signs that are posted and all that. And I don't know if these signs are posted pre or post. But
no, I'm pretty sure they were posted before as well. Yeah.
But in her mind, as a kid who grew up in Florida, she's like, but don't people know there's just gators in every body of water in Florida? And I'm like, well, we know, but there's tourists here. But also, if there was a sign, I'm like, unfortunately, they'd still be able to sue because they're on this property that belongs to this company that now it's that company's responsibility to make you safe or to keep you safe. And I go, and there's a different argument of whether or not that's fair. And like, it just happens to be the America that we currently live in. Europe doesn't have that same philosophy. Like, I remember going to places in Europe that didn't even have railings on balconies. And I'm like, and there's like toddlers playing around them. And I'm like, yo, that's a 4-story fall. And they take the approach of like, don't fucking go past the edge, bro. Like, it's common sense, like, and it's like, and no one's afraid to get sued, and no people barriers, let their kids, nothing, bro. Dude, the amount of places overseas that I have been in that are obviously unsafe.
Yeah.
And their approach is don't fucking go near the edge or don't touch the hot stove or don't like, it's like, it's common sense. There isn't this like litigious society where they're sort of constantly afraid to get sued because they wouldn't allow it. And so obviously in America, it's like a little bit different here because we do allow these sort of really frivolous lawsuits and we put almost the onus on everyone. Dude, like if someone breaks into your house and they get bit by your dog, like they can sue
it. Yeah.
Which is
it's insane.
Fucking insane here. Like, and so we've allowed this to happen and that common sense doesn't prevail here, but it does in a lot of other places. But it was an interesting conversation to have, like now that you're bringing that up, like something so simple like a ferry ride of like the thing and she brought up the gator thing and she's just like even as kids they're like, well, that's kind of stupid because common sense tells you not to go in the water where the gator is. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you could argue the toddler couldn't read the sign. I'm like, but then it's up to the parent to watch the toddler. You know, I'm like there's layers of this, but yeah, you're like, unfortunate, sucks. Like I can't imagine what those parents went through, but at where does the responsibility lie? And now, with that being said, it did shock me that Disney allowed gators to still be on their property. Like,
it did to me too.
It surprised me
because you go like you don't want that liability.
Well, because it's bound to happen. Yeah.
Right.
Like in Disney, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very small cost to pay to relocate these things when you see them.
Right.
Versus something like this happening, and so like in this instance,
do you know what they ended up giving up?
I've heard estimates that don't make sense to me. Like I've heard estimates from the 3 to 5 million.
Okay.
And it's like buying a child, right? Like you go like, what does the 3 to 5 million make you whole? And it goes back to the conversation we had earlier. Like as a parent, what's the dollar figure that makes you feel whole? And I don't think there is one.
No. And it's the most you can get. It's
right. Exactly. It's the most you could possibly get. And I'm still angry. And I'm still upset, and I never feel like justice is served. And because like, dude, I think, and this is hard to explain to people who don't have kids. It's like there isn't like a value or a price or a comparison or like there isn't like you lose all reasonability when it comes to your kids. Like you can be rational about the like my kid did this, my kid did that, but I think as far as love is concerned, I think it's the only people in the world.
You were really irrational.
Extremely irrational.
Yeah, when it comes to that, and you like it's like you said, it's if something happened to your child where it hurt them in some way, I don't know that there is a dollar value.
All of the common sense and the rationale goes out the window, bro. Yeah, absolutely, and it should. I mean, I think that's like human nature. I think that's ingrained in our DNA,
and that's why we protect our kids the way we do.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, man, what you got,
bro? I got this story with the Pope because it's. I don't know, like it's like a half-assed way to get there, but it's also maybe it's a step in the right direction or it's a step in some like really like insane controversy here. So Pope Francis has authorized priests to bless same-sex couples if they don't confuse the ritual with the sacrament of marriage, which is.
So what is blessing the couple entail?
I guess you could, before you were allowed to say like, for straight couples, I guess you're allowed to sort of be like, whatever, give a prayer over them and hope that their marriage works out well or that their unity works out well. And
they can do that.
Give a prayer. So they can give like a prayer and bless, quote unquote, this union, but they can't, I guess, acknowledge that the union is like a marriage in the traditional sense of like male-female. But it's more than the Catholic Church has ever given to anyone. So I guess we should sort of applaud them. Because, for like an entity that's been known to just fucking torture individuals for the last couple thousand years. And it's just, and especially like same-sex people. It's like, oh, look at you guys being sort of loving, or sort of accepting or sort of like.
So I would imagine this is just something that he's doing to say we're not gonna sort of disallow same-sex couples from being closer to God. However, we're not gonna bless a so-called marriage because I believe in the Catholic Church, like marriage is like the lifelong sacrament between man and woman. Period. Right? Like there's not any like that's it.
Yeah, and this guy has been, I don't know why I can't think of his name, but he's been the most sort of quote-unquote progressive pope we've had.
Isn't it Pope Francis?
And then, you're
That's
probably
it.
right.
Pope
I just said it
Francis.
right.
Yeah.
But I always feel like there's always a billion Because don't they just adopt a name? That's not his real name,
so.
right? They just take on a name of whatever, of other popes or deities or whatever.
Just start giving them symbols.
Yeah, man. You know, for someone who was raised Catholic, I know so little about this. I'm still salty about not being diddled, so I can't let this go. But anyway, so like he's been sort of the most progressive of the popes, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has been.
He's like the Barack of black presidents. Like Barack was black light, you know what I mean? Like he was diet black, and then the next president we get might be black, like we just don't know. Like Barack wasn't like he was black, but he wasn't really black. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this guy's progressive, but he's not really like all the way there. like the next black president might wear a do-rag.
He's like half Democrat.
Yeah, he's like, like I'm like, all right, you get it. This guy's like, he's been the most progressive one, which isn't saying a lot.
Independent.
He's bro, for a pope to be progressive, like the bar is really fucking low, like really low. So it's like he's been the most progressive, especially as it comes to same-sex marriage. I think because he's the only one that's probably gonna end up admitting that he likes same-sex people. Like.
Well, I did see something, man, where it said so in 2021, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith said flat out that the church could not bless unions between two men or two women.
Bro.
And it said like God cannot bless sin. That was like quotes from this doctrine.
These motherfuckers be acting like they the admin department for God, bro.
But this dude, he didn't like fire that person, but essentially fired him. He removed them from that, and then now sort of came back in and goes like, you know, people in these like irregular relationships, as they kind of call it, you know, still deserve to be close to God.
Bro, it's yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It goes against everything you preach about love and forgiveness and whatever else is in the book. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, the Vatican is the most fascinating place I have not been to. Oh my God. As obviously Rome was on my like lifelong bucket list for a lot of reasons, and the Vatican was one of them. But I already feel a very specific way about the church in general. Yeah. And when you go there, it sort of cements like what you think, and then it sort of makes it worse. Or what I thought, and then it makes it worse. There is so much pain and suffering and all this for people who are like anti-church and all that you sort of learn of when you're there. And and then there's so many riches. Like
there is some sort of like almost quote unquote like a museum that you kind of go through.
The Vatican is a museum. That's all it is. Okay. It's literally thousands of pieces of art that they took from someone else. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's like all the shit they stole from Egypt and from Greece and from anywhere else. It's all just sitting in the Vatican, bro. It's literally, and I don't think I realized that.
But is it religious art?
No, it's just fucking art, bro. Okay. It's a giant. Or I should say, it's a giant museum / small city full of fucking statues and carpets and topography and carvings on the wall and paintings on the wall that we took from Egypt and Greece and every other. Like, it's like, dude, the amount of things you see in there that are like sphinxes or like the cats or the dogs or like that are clearly statues that we took from Egypt. And they'll tell you like, oh yeah, so-and-so went there and just fucking took it back from whoever. And then and then there's like torture chambers for like non-believers, and then there's like stories that they'll tell you, and there's like, you know, the Vatican is literally like this walled up city, and they're telling you stories about people banging on the outside, like homeless people and vagabonds and vagabonds and whatever, and just like how they would sort of make them accept or believe before they would help them. Yep. Just fucking horrible stuff, man. And you would go, wow, this is
like the God-fearing people.
Correct. Like, and you would go, okay, no wonder you fear. But then it's like, it isn't the lovey-dovey, I guess, portrayal that maybe they would want to have. But if you were raised Catholic, you know, it's not like it's not this loving embrace religion, man. It's very much a religion of like, don't be a piece of shit. And if you are, make sure you go tell us about it. And then maybe we'll forgive you, but you have to be really sorry about it so many times and tell it in a box to a guy. Like, it's just like, it's like the religion of making you feel so shitty about yourself that you stop having sex and give your life to, like, it's just like, it's like, it's such a weird place. Like, in a way, I love it, and in a way, it's depressing. Like, I can't explain it, like, without you going. Like, the Vatican is the most fascinating, just, like, marvelous place I've ever been to in my life, but it was also the most depressing place I've ever seen that is that significant to people, because there's just this thing about it where you just go, you don't love people. You love people who think like you and who follow you and who want this thing, and like it's hard to explain, man. I
also think that that Catholicism, unlike most religions, just have a lot of traditions, and a lot of the traditions don't kind of bode well today with society.
No,
and like this is one of them, right? Like we know, I think we even know, like, scientifically, right? Like it's not really a choice. It's not really a choice to be gay. And I'm sure there's an argument out there that it is and what have you. But, like, I know people personally that when I was a kid, this dude was different. Like, this dude was gay from day one.
Yeah.
When we was kids, this dude was gay. And it was like, you know what I mean? And it's like, that wasn't a choice. This guy didn't wake up in the morning and go like, oh, I want to, be a woman or be a girl, right? Like, I've had experience with that, or to be around people like that, and it's funny, man, because when I think about it, back when I was a kid, I never said, oh, so and so's gay, but I knew he was different.
He was different.
Like this dude liked to hang out with the girls. And
had a lisp,
and he and he didn't, but he
he did.
No, but he talked more like them.
Yeah.
And he jumped double dutch, and he, you know what I mean. And it was like all the things that the girls did. He hung out with the girls, and he kind of talked like them, but everybody was cool with him. He was fine. Like nobody. But then thinking back,
but you just go like, he didn't make that choice.
Like that dude was like that. He was like that from day one.
Yeah. Dude, there was a mutual friend of ours who was with me.
Okay.
And who's gay. And he was, it's funny, man. He broke the dress code to go. And he was like, I'm kind of hoping they don't let me in.
Okay.
Because I really don't care. Because I don't feel welcome there anyway.
Okay.
And so I'm going because it's the Vatican. But I don't give a fuck about whether or not they accept me. And I can't remember if they let him in or not. I feel like they did for part
now. When
of
you say he
maybe was kicked out,
bro,
he wore a tank top. That was it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Bro, in the Vatican, no, bro. There's a dress code, really strict. If you're a woman, you have to wear sleeves. If you're like, you can't wear a dress or a skirt, something like. There's a lot of rules, and bro.
Okay,
there's like a certain dress
code.
I
would think you have to wear a dress.
So I think there's like, it's almost like going to school. It can't be under a certain lane for
correct.
Lane.
It has to be something,
like you can't go in there with a cocktail dress and heels. No. But there's all these rules about what you can and cannot wear. Like as a guy, you can't wear a tank top. You can't. Which again, listen, I understand. Like there's restaurants you can't go into without that. Like fine.
Again, traditions.
It's whatever. But and it's funny. He was just like, no, I don't feel welcome there. I don't feel like I'm. Like if I miss this, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, and that was sort of his stance on it. And but I just remember, man, walking through there and just like room after room, like there was like amazing history and really cool artifacts, but I felt like they didn't belong in a place that I thought was supposed to be holy, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It was like there is
like, how did you know that wasn't wrong?
There was this just egregious, almost nauseating amount of riches that it made me hate religion even more.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It was like, it was like walking into Jeff Bezos' house and I don't know, there was a portal to like every country in the world in it, and then he had a slot machine that automatically handed him $1,000 every second of the day. Like, it was like, bro, don't you have enough? Like, it was just like, it was just this thing where you just felt like it was too much. It was so much. It felt so undeserved. And it just made you sick to your stomach. And sort of like, for me, who's like sort of anti-religion in the first place, it sort of gave me like this bad. It was funny because like I loved it. I would go back, I would think, but it also sort of confirmed the thoughts that I already had about religion. And in some cases, it made it worse. It was like this nauseating like feeling of like, wow, there's this abundance here. Like, why are you this rich as a religion? Do you have these things, these priceless artifacts as a religion? And then you start to think about what they had to do to get them and who they stole them from. And there's just a lot there, man. It's just really, really bizarre.
Dude, but you know what? So what's making me think of is, so back then, right? And I don't even know how far back that goes of when the Vatican was first founded, you know, when it came to prominence or what have you. But it's a really long time ago.
Yeah.
What was acceptable back then versus what's acceptable now? And then for us to look back, I think it's easy for us to go, that's fucked up.
Well, no, but you also think about, like, to that point, the Roman Empire, one of the strongest empires in the world, right? And so you have the Vatican that's within that.
Yep.
And then you think about how ruthless you have these things now. Yeah, it was frowned upon, but you know how powerful and how ruthless and you have to be to pull that off in that time where people are just barbarians. And listen, some of the greatest artists of all time, right? Like, have paintings in the Vatican, right? Like, you have the Michelangelos and you know, the Sistine Chapel is like, it legit fucking breathtaking, because you're just like, this is crazy. And when they tell you how old it is, and you know, all that stuff, like, just phenomenal, life-altering stuff where you just go, the person who did this was doing this on their back, you know, 2,000 years ago, didn't have the technology we have today, doesn't have a PC, doesn't have pictures, they're doing this off memory. Like, just extremely impressive. But also, you just go, done by a religion that was so powerful, or an entity that was so powerful and so ruthless and so barbaric, that these other people preaching love, you know what I mean, like an acceptance and like but I also, it's in conflict, like its idea is in conflict with its reality, I guess is the best way I could describe it.
And I do understand that, but I also feel like it was there's some of those traditions that have passed down, and obviously over time, you know, people like Pope Francis have made changes to where it's more accepting, and they're not doing this shit anymore. But I think that the things in the Vatican match the time. And I want to tell you this. So I had a conversation with my sons recently where we were talking about, and I forget how it kind of got to this, but we were talking about things that were accepted when I was a kid. So I grew up, like, I was born in 1974. Okay. So my early recollections are like late 1970s and then into the 1980s, right? And I was telling my sons of things that were kind of normal then that aren't now. And you're only talking about like a 40-year span.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're in the Vatican thing, we're talking about hundreds of years, right? Or even, when was the Roman Empire?
2,000 years ago?
Is it 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, 2,000 years ago. Yeah.
So he's talking about thousands of years versus here's a 40-year span, and just in a 40-year span, here's some things that we talked about, and like they were just like, what the fuck, right? So smoking cigarettes everywhere.
Yeah,
buses,
included, bro.
Trains, planes,
restaurants.
Yeah, anything in like fuck in
work.
Yeah, work, dude. In you know, when like I grew up, my mom smoked while I was growing up. There was like this big TV campaign in like the late 80s that it would show like kids going up to their parents and saying like, "We mind very much if you smoke."
Really?
Yeah. And so my sister and I would do that to my mom.
We mind very much if you smoke.
Yes,
and just fuck with her.
And so she stopped, bro.
Yeah,
cold fucking turkey.
So
like, shout out to moms, man. She fucking good
for her.
She stopped cold turkey, but after a few times,
but
right?
The campaign worked.
It worked. Another thing was like, Sending your kids to the store to buy cigarettes.
Very normal.
Dude,
I remember doing that.
Dude, my
Not
aunt,
for my parents, but like for people that I knew.
yeah,
Like,
dude,
"Go get me
no,
a cigarette." Yeah.
my aunt. So I would be at my grandmother's house, and my aunt would be like, "Yo, here's some money. Like, go to the store, get like an Italian bread, get some milk, get me 4 Lucy's."
The single cigarettes. Yeah, I remember that shit. The Lucy's, the single cigarettes, man.
So it'd be like singles, like,
hilarious.
selling. They would break open a pack of cigarettes. They would sell you like single cigarettes. So 4, they call them Lucy's. At least
Lucy's.
in New York.
Yeah.
Or at least in
The Northeast, I mean, because in Jersey we called it that too. Yeah.
And so, I used to do that. Fucking spanking your kids. Like, that shit was normal. Riding in the back of a pickup truck. Like, again, if you had a car.
I did that shit here like 5 years ago.
Dude, I did that shit as a kid where I would stand up in the back with my fucking
hold
hands.
on the top, yep.
No, my hands, I didn't even hold on to shit. And then I'm not there.
Just on top of the hood?
Just on top of the roof.
Hoping gravity kept you there?
Yep. And not even worrying that's going to be a problem.
Bro, my grandfather had one of those ridiculous, super crazy station wagons.
Yep.
Like, and I remember rolling like 6 deep in that back part of the station wagon. The adults would be in the safe part.
Yep.
And then the kids would all be in the box in the back that we're all dead if we crash. Yeah.
Dude,
what a time.
I told you earlier about when Disney, right? Coming here at I was like 4 years old. It was like my mom and then and my aunt and then all the kids. Actually, my mom, my 2 aunts and all the kids. Anyway, station wagon, all the kids in the back.
Yeah.
All of us in the back.
And it'd be like hours long trips. And y'all just be back there just.
What about sitting on the armrest in the front seat?
Oh yeah, bro, with the bench seats. When it was just the bench seat. Yep. What a time. You remember the ashtray in the car? Are there even ashtrays in cars anymore? Because I see lighter plugs, but I'm like, there's no ashtray. So who the fuck is going to use a lighter plug with no ashtray anymore?
So mine has...
An ashtray?
It has an ashtray, but it says not an ashtray. So but it's right next to the fucking cigarette lighter.
Coin box. It says not an ashtray. Nah, bro, the ones used to have like the little spot where you knew you were supposed to lay the cigarette on and stuff. Oh man,
dude. But here's one that I was that blew their fucking mind. Right, all this stuff they were just like, oh, really, really, really. Husbands hitting their wives.
Oh, how normal that was.
And it was, bro.
That's not where I thought this was going.
No, and so here we are, and I go like, it wasn't. I wouldn't say that the husbands that I saw were regularly hitting their wives. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But for a husband to hit a woman back then, you would look at it like, ooh, that's fucked up, but no one would say anything.
But you'd be like, he had to ask her twice. She should have just listened the first time.
Like, unless he was out there beating her, right?
Yeah.
People were getting involved, but like to see a dude like smack a woman, that shit was not uncommon. We're talking about 40 years ago.
No.
You're talking about so now go back 2,000 years, bro. And you go, yeah, it's just fucked up.
No, it's like expected. Yeah,
maybe that shit was kind of more normal.
To your point,
back then.
and I had a different like take on I've hated people who hit women. Like I just for a lot of reasons, but like just hated them. But I do remember, man, on more than one occasion in my life, seeing it, and I'll never forget. There was this one time, like to your point of it being normal back then. This is probably 90s, maybe mid 90s, early 90s. And not that long ago in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely.
And there was this guy. I was in Camden visiting family, and they're walking, and I was outside, and they're walking across the street or whatever, and he just starts beating the shit out of this lady, and just yelling stuff at her and whatever. And I remember, like, I'm a kid, I can't really do much about it, and going inside to grab like the grown-ups, like, bro, this dude is beating the shit out of this lady outside. Like, y'all might want to come help her. And like people didn't.
What did she do?
Yeah, no one would interfere, man. And I remember feeling
bro,
fucking terrible. And then they waited for him to stop, and then went over to like help her. Like after it stopped, I'm like, fuck, she don't need you now, bro. Like she's already fucked up.
Right.
Like, and so it was almost like, yo, we're not gonna, like, that's not our business. And it was very normal for them to be like, yo, it's not our business. And then, you know, whatever, like, bring her in and help. But I remember just feeling like, fuck, man, there's a bunch of grown men in this house. And none of you guys would interfere with that. Like, I was fuming. And I remember being a kid.
And you
like,
were a kid.
Fuming, bro, because this guy was beating this chick up. And I was just like, well, I'm going to get fucked up. But, like, y'all wouldn't. You know, like, it was just... But it was so normal or just so accepted, man.
I know someone close to me that knows of, like, when they were kids, of in the family of husbands fucking backhanding their wives. And then, and it was like, no one would even flinch. No one would go like, yo, take it easy. Nothing. Like, it was just normal. Like, she, you know, the wife would do something that he wouldn't like. And a smack is coming, and then the wife would just straighten up and fucking do like I'm just so I'm just saying dude, this is not that long ago.
Yeah,
and so it's hard for me to think back of 2,000 years ago and go, oh, they should have known better. And I'm like, nah, they should.
No, not for sure. I think for me, it's like I think the argument I would make. In that sense, when it comes to like the Vatican and those things, is like not much has changed. I think they still very much operate, and I guess their modus operandi or whatever still that way, with the exception of whatever's accepted sort of on a global scale as far as human rights go, right? Like, but I think their disdain for non-believers and sort of their violations of basic human decency and to quote unquote love, but really they don't. It's like, we love you if you think exactly like us and if you fall in line and if you like.
Yeah.
I'm like, it all comes
that's any club.
Well, it's like everything in life, right? Like everyone's loved with conditions, right? Like there's very little unconditional
except
love
for
in the
women
world.
and children.
Yep. Yeah, dude, that's very much true, right?
I should say children.
Probably children. I would say women get love conditionally as well. But children are probably the only things that you will love and will love you unconditionally.
Like old people and children, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I've
no,
seen
not
some,
them either.
I've seen
okay,
some
fuck them.
Jerk off as old people. Fuck them too.
Dude, let's switch gears, man. I read this shit this week, man. And it was talking about the countries with the highest quality of life.
Ooh.
In 2023.
Okay, 2023 specifically. I want to take a guess. So how many?
Well, hold on. So here's the factors.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to give you top 10.
Okay.
Here's the factors.
Go ahead.
Strong job market.
Okay.
Economic stability.
Okay.
Family friendliness.
Ooh, okay.
Income equality.
Okay.
Political stability.
Okay.
Safety.
Okay.
And then a well-developed public health and education systems.
All right. So based on like some of those like safety, I'm gonna go with like and like the happiness, like in the Netherlands.
They're in there.
Switzerland for like equality.
They're in there.
Canada.
Ooh, they're in there.
Yeah. Trying to think. What was the other factors? So that's 3. What are we doing? 10?
So 10. Job market.
Job market.
Economic stability.
I mean, all the jobs are in China, but they're not happy. So I got to take them out.
You would be correct.
So economy.
Let me tell you, the world powers are not fucking included.
No, it's not any of the world powers. I was going to say. So we can go Sweden, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Canada. Is anyone in Latin America on that list?
No.
Nope. Okay. So I didn't think so. It's all going to be European countries. In the cold ass European countries, which makes it even funnier.
Except for 2. So
Brussels.
I'll tell you this. It's Sweden number 1.
Okay. So wow, Sweden number 1. Okay.
Number
I would
1.
have thought Netherlands. All right.
So I'm gonna go in 1 through 10. Sweden number 1. Norway, Canada, Denmark, Finland.
Denmark. Yeah. Okay.
Switzerland, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, New Zealand.
Dude, fucking cold as fuck. And 7 out of 10 of those.
Yeah.
And where you would think, so it's interesting. In the United States, cold as fuck equals misery. But in Europe, for whatever reason,
Cold as fuck equals
stability. Is stability and happiness and equality and like everything, what all of the above. Because I think Switzerland has like the most women CEOs and women in executive positions than anywhere else in the world. I think Canada's up there too. Maybe same thing with Sweden. I think Germany is pretty high up there. So like, you knew from an equality standpoint, Denmark, the Netherlands and all that always score really high when it comes to like raising children, and the people are just fucking happy in those countries, man. What's funny too is like those people are also very literal about everything, if that makes sense. Like
what?
They don't like sarcasm. You have to explain it to them like really, really well, or like dryness, like dry humor. You have to explain to them because they're literally like very literal about stuff. So like, but it's interesting. But they're also very happy. I think what those countries all have in common, man, is that their governments are, as citizens of those countries, you believe that the government has your best self-interest in mind. Because if you think about the Netherlands, like that's where Amsterdam is, right? And all that, legalized prostitution, legalized drugs, legalized stuff. I think in those countries they go, okay, we legalize these things because yes, they're bad, but they're better than the alternative. And so I think if you live in these countries and your government passes laws, you sort of, after a while of doing things like this, you have to believe that the government has your best self-interest. Whereas the rest of the world, especially in the power countries, we just assume the government's trying to fuck us all the time. Like, but when you live in Canada, you actually trust them because I think they do, right? Like, I think our governments are consistently trying to sort of take over the world. Whereas, like, the government of the Netherlands is perfectly content with just being the power in the Netherlands. But whereas, like, if you're in the United States, you're involved in fucking everything. If you're in the UK, you're involved in everything. If you're in Russia, if you're in China, if you're in India, if you're, I'm actually surprised Australia's there, but I guess it makes sense that you don't really hear of Australia trying to sort of like take over countries or regions or whatever. Like, I think the rest of the world is sort of consumed with protecting resources and doing that, but these countries don't give a fuck, man. Like, they're just kind of like, I think it's easy to live in those countries and believe that the government has your self-interest in mind.
I wonder how hard it is to become like citizens of these countries.
That's interesting because I know one of them, I think the Netherlands or one had offered like really good deals for you to go there and become a citizen to get a free education for a while.
Oh, is that right?
But it wasn't hard, but it wasn't like, I think they had like a sort of window there where they were trying to sort of attract people. But it must be difficult because, dude, it's funny, man. Like, I don't want to live in a place that it's cold, but it's also hard to be like, I wouldn't be open to living in Sweden or, Norway or fucking the Netherlands or what. I think the Netherlands also, like, everyone rides their bikes everywhere and walks and like,
at least in Amsterdam.
Yeah. It's like a very, very
to the fit society,
and it has to play part of it too. But I think not thinking your government is trying to fuck you all the time has to play into this. like I think all these countries have, like, you never hear of them picking a war or trying to take over or unstabilize someone, or they're either really, really good at staying under the radar, or your citizens truly believe that you have their best interest in mind.
Dude, what is that? There's a female comedian that has this bit about coming to the U.S. and it's like, like the land of opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but nobody tells you that it's the land of like insurance and, your credit score and having a mortgage and having, all these things that kind of come with the quote unquote American
Asian
dream.
or Indian chick.
I don't remember. I know. I sent it to you. I believe.
Yeah.
But it's a really good bit, and she just kind of rattles off like all this shit that we have to kind of deal with, and a lot of it is centered around like insurances and taxes, and well, I guess not so much taxes, but mortgage payments and mortgage insurance and this and that and life insurance and and a lot of shit that we deal with here that maybe is not so prevalent in other places.
Dude, I think for us, right, like, we pay, like, I look at my tax bill and it's infuriating, right? And then I know people that pay significantly higher than I do in other countries, especially like European countries.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I have family in Europe, and I think in the common sort of thing that they tell me all the time is like, well, I can see where my money's going. And I really think that's the differentiating factor, is that they're like, well, no, I can stick my kid in daycare and I don't have to pay for it. And I can stick my kid and a medical emergency doesn't bankrupt you. And, you know, they're like while they'll acknowledge it's not the best, right? Like if you have the money, you go to private healthcare, you go to private schooling and you go to thing.
But it's available.
I don't have to, I choose to, but I can see that my money gets me daycare. And, you know, allows me to go work or whatever. Yep. I'm not spending $300, $400 a week on daycare or whatever it is. And it's like, I think that's an easier pill to swallow if you're paying 35% tax, where you're like, oh, I see where it's going. I can go to the dentist and to the doctor and whatever anytime I want, and I don't have to pay for this. And then I can put my kids in school. And and then the daycares have like, you know, real food. And yet, like, I think for them, it's an easier pill to swallow because they're like, well, no, I get all this, especially for the ones that have lived in the States. And then like, and have lived in Europe, and they're just like, no, I've seen what my money gets me in Europe and what my money gets me in the United States. And I think it's really tough for us in the States to, not that our money doesn't go anywhere, but I guess for lack of a better word, is like we don't see it at work. Like it's easy to take roads for granted in schools here, like normal public schools.
And the schools aren't great.
No, but you go but then I have to pay for daycare. So then that's weird because it's really expensive. I might as well put my kids in a private school. Like, so I think for us, and then you look at healthcare bills and you're like, wait, I have health insurance, but I get this procedure done. I still have to spend a few $1,000s. Like, what the fuck, where does my money go? Why am I paying for health insurance? Like, it's just all these things here where I feel like we're constantly in this state of feeling like the government and big pharma and corporates and whatever are fucking us, and they're all sort of in the same boat together, fucking us. Like yeah, it's like an orgy that we decided not to participate in, and then we're gonna sue Takeoff for it. So it's like yo,
dude, not for nothing, man. I was thinking about this whole like Christmas, like now we're in like the Christmas season and stuff, man, and how like the holidays, like the big holidays. So you go like, I mean, Halloween, I don't want to say it's big, but it is.
No, but it is
a money maker.
I would say
so
it's a top 5 holiday in the United States. Okay. Yeah.
So you got Halloween, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's, and it's all towards the end of the year, and it's like where people spend money almost unconsciously. And is that something that is like, you know, you talk about the government, and then the government sort of like the pressures from the pharmaceutical companies or from the basically the companies that make the most money. Yeah. Putting you know, is that all part of it? Is that part of kind of keeping most of us like in a poor state, and then you kind of just restart to kind of build up throughout the year, and at the end of the year they just fucking drain you again, so you got to start all over, and then it's just a machine.
Yeah, I do think we get caught up in that, right? And that's not like, obviously we all have free will and we make choices, right? But I do think there's something,
it's part of our society.
Yeah, no, it's part of, and then the machine, right? Like it's hard not to get caught up in that, and then it's hard not to sort of get accustomed to a lifestyle. Yep. And then it's hard not to then, you know, go, okay, this is what I need to do to sustain this lifestyle. And we sort of get caught in this rat race and in this like this hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over because we're trying to provide, whether it's our families or the lifestyle that we're accustomed to, or, you know, like it's, I think.
And then when you have more, you try to give more to your kids, which perpetuates the cycle.
It just keeps going, right? Because you're you know, it's funny, man. Like I've had this conversation with my kids about like, as you know, about career choices. It's like I don't care, and I tell them all the time, listen, I don't care whether or not you make a lot of money. I want you to be happy. Happiness for you might be making a lot of money. And like the people that tell you like, hey, money doesn't buy happiness, that's truth to an extent, right? But money does buy you a lot of comfort.
It makes things easier.
A lot of like stress-free days that will inevitably make you happy. Now, is it the only thing? No. And I go, but also that's not to say that you can't be happy making $40K a year and doing something that you really love, and you know, you found a place to live and you're not starving and you're whatever. I'm like, that is okay too. Like, I don't really care what you do as long as you're happy and you're doing stuff. And I'm like, but our kids have gotten accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and it's like, but if you want this lifestyle that you're currently going now, and I would think you will want a better one, you're gonna need to do some different shit. Like, I don't know what that is, but you're gonna have to make money in whatever that is. Like, you might make money like talking about peanut butter on YouTube. Like, I don't know what that is, but you're gonna have to do it if you want to sustain this. Yep. Like, it's just not the only answer, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, it's true, bro.
Yeah.
How are we on time, bro?
Bro, we're over an hour. We're an hour 4. All
right, let's do it. Let's finish it up.
What you want to finish?
What you want to do?
I feel like I had something that was good to end with. So let me.
We got a bunch of stuff on here, man.
Bro, we got to talk about Rashard Mendenhall. All right, I feel like that's a great one. Rashard Mendenhall was a former.
The name sounds familiar. Who is?
Yeah, you have to know. He was an NFL star back in the day. I'm trying to think. He played for Arizona. I know that. I'm trying to think of where he went to college. Yeah, look him up. I can't think about where he went to college, but he was a stud for a minute there. But he has made this suggestion that he wants to get rid of the Pro Bowl, which I don't disagree with. The Pro Bowl is trash.
Running back.
Yeah, he was a running back.
Cardinals. Cardinals and Steelers.
Okay, and the Steelers. Okay. Where did he go to college? Does it say? Because I feel like he was more known for his college years. But anyway, but he did play in the NFL for Arizona and Pittsburgh.
University of Illinois.
Okay, it wasn't that then. So then it must have been Cardinals or Steelers. So he must have been on those like teams that went to the Super Bowl in the mid 2000s. But he was saying like to get rid of the Pro Bowl, which I'm like, yeah, I think we'd all would get rid of the Pro Bowl. It's kind of meaningless.
Do they still play that?
They do, man. Like in
so then
Orlando.
What is the shit they doing over in Orlando?
It's a Pro Bowl.
They're doing the skill, like it's not even a skills competition anymore. It's something else.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
but that's part of Pro Bowl weekend or whatever.
And they're actually playing the game.
And then they actually play the game that Sunday
with pads.
Yeah, no, it's a full blown.
Why did
they do a flag football game?
Like I saw a flag football game.
They do a flag football game, and then they do a regular. I think they should just make it a flag football game.
Well, you see, it's going to be in the Olympics. I don't know in 24. I think it's 28.
Is it 28? Oh, I can't wait for that shit, bro. Can you imagine Tyreek Hill running a post route against some kid from Slovenia? That shit is going to be amazing. Just give America the gold now. Or will you find a lot of talent overseas that we didn't
supposedly
think we had?
that there's leagues overseas.
Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, if we let NFL players play flag football, there's no fucking chance that America loses. That's going to be like the basketball thing.
It'll be like the dream team.
Yeah. There's no fucking way, bro. Can you imagine you're sitting there and Patrick Mahomes is throwing dimes in flag football and you're not allowed to sack him?
That's right.
Fucking just, bro, this guy, Patrick Mahomes.
Do they count Mississippi's?
I'm sure they do.
It's something
but
like
it's
that,
like
right?
7, bro. You're going to give Patrick Mahomes
7 seconds?
7 Mississippis to throw to A.J. Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill. It's not fair,
Most
bro.
of these guys get about 2 to 3 Mississippis.
Yeah, bro. And then some fucking plumber from Lithuania has to cover this guy, bro. No fucking way, bro. There's no way.
I'm laughing because why a plumber from Lithuania?
Because
you reminded me of the fucking, the movie 300? And like, what are you? Ow!
Bro, because I always assume these obscure ass countries, these sports, they just be rolling motherfuckers out there that got 9 to 5s. It's like you just be like, oh, throw the accountant out there to fucking go curling.
Spartans, what do you do for a living? Ow!
But equally as egregious, fucking Rashard Mendenhall says, get rid of the Pro Bowl and just make it a black versus white game. So black players versus white players. And I was like, first of all, that's not fair for Patrick Mahomes because where does he go? Where do the beige kids go?
A league of their own.
Bro, and then you got, imagine fucking, you got to do, the black team has no quarterback, unfair, and then the white guys have no wide receivers. It'd be Cooper Kupp, and then you got to take Mike Evans on a technicality. You're like, nah, he's light.
Yeah, he's light. He's too light to be on the black team. Why did he say that?
Where do the Polynesian kids go? And he's like, bro, black versus white, and then you got to put a mercy
do black, white, other.
Yeah, you have to, right? And then it's like 3. So then the other play special teams for both sides. Like, what do you do? Bro, I don't know. I'm gonna assume this guy was high or drunk or
was this in like an interview?
Had CTE. Yeah, I think it was on a podcast.
Oh yeah, CTE. That's it, bro.
Black versus white. Can you imagine if think of every sport you would have a black versus white in, and just how that would end up. Like
basketball.
Oh, it would be 178-7. There would be like, nah. You know what you would have to do is just be like ban dunks. You'd be like, no,
it's only threes.
You're only allowed to shoot threes, and then the white guys have a chance. But bro, that's like playing baseball, and then it'd be like Latinos versus fucking I don't even know
the world.
Like, which I guess America tends to do well, but they also have a bunch of half Latinos on that squad. So it's like
and then Japan does well.
Yeah, Japan does really well. I know. Yeah, that's true.
Dude, but I'm trying to like, what was his motive for? Like, I don't know. Why would you even fucking say that?
Maybe he just assumed that black people were gonna win. I mean, he may not be wrong.
He probably not wrong.
But I like, but you ain't got nobody throwing the ball.
Lamar, man.
Nah, it's a running back.
Let me see. Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, is he black? Or is he another one that you would go? Is he beige? I don't know. Jalen Hurts mixed?
He's mochaccino.
Doesn't say. What do you do with the mochachinos? What do you do with the coconuts? What do you do? What do you do with the people that are mixed?
No, he's not mixed, right?
No, I don't know if he is or not. But what do you do with the people that are mixed?
There's enough black quarterbacks right now.
Nah, but then you don't let the mixed guys play? Like, how does this work? Like, so Patrick can't play? So it got to be Josh Allen.
You know what? Typically, man,
versus Geno Smith.
If you're half, you're black.
That's the athletic side of you, right? You just go, oh, the side that could catch a ball is black. The side that could throw one is white. Like, can you read defenses?
Did this fucking thing just talk to me?
It probably did. Did it say fragile?
I said something.
It probably did. My Christmas story jam. But I'm like, something's wrong with him, man. That shit would be funny. But as like nowhere else in life would we fucking suggest some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like,
so funny, man.
That's really weird for anybody to suggest that shit, man. But I don't know.
It is kind of an
I don't know.
thing.
I don't even know how long of a career he had, but maybe he's suffering from CTE
or something
at this point.
Something, bro. It's like you can't be all there if you're suggesting some shit like this.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Clearly.
All right, man. Yo, we gotta get out of here. On that, tell them where they can find us.
If you are not already following at the Carbon Football Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, at Carbon FB Pod on X, and all your favorite audio platforms, man. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, GeoSavin, Ghana, Pocket Cast, Podchaser, which is shutting down now. All of them. There's so fucking many now, man.
Podchaser's
is it Podchaser? No, maybe.
No,
what's
Stitcher.
the one that just Stitcher just shut down? There's one more that just shut down. Podchaser might be shutting down, or Pocket Cast, one of those.
Okay.
I gotta go back and look, but yeah, all the major ones were on those. Google Podcast is shutting down, so that's moved over to YouTube Podcast, and then which is not to be confused with YouTube. So there's two. There's YouTube Podcast, which is audio, and then YouTube. Yeah, man, and then TikTok at Carbon Football Podcast on TikTok too. So man, hit us up. Shout out to you guys for listening and feedback and whatever else, man.
Absolutely. And as always, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.